Hi there, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how we can utilize this API gateway with different stages and how to deploy it using, again, the same Lambda function we'll be using that we created in the previous video. Anyway, I will start fresh so we can see how does it works. So in the previous video, I just give you introduction about what is API gateway and what are the different kind of APIs we can create and up to how much we can scale it and what is the front door and how we can create our RESTful APIs, WebSocket APIs and all, how this API gateway handle all this task and all. So all these things were discussed in my previous video. Those who haven't watched this video, please watch my previous video in order to get the basics. So I have shown one basics and one demo example also, built-in example of the pets. So you can go through it to get a better idea before proceeding to this video. So basically today we are trying to achieve this, like we'll be having different uh, versions or we can say aliases that to which our API gateway will be pointing. So basically we will be having different like a dev, production, and a testing stages will be there. So how to refer to those particular environments like stage variables, I will be showing you how that API gateway will work. So let's proceed to the so you can see I already have one Lambda function. Let's start with this. Let's create an API first. So I'll be using over here REST API, this one, build. So I'm just creating empty one. Later on, we can create those get and all. So I'm giving the name as my API stages. My API stages. So this is regional. Let's create the API. So this one will be created. So we can define some resource over here. Let's say it's stage variables that I want to use it. No need of enabling the course because just for demo purpose we will be using and create resource. Then later on we can define our get methods and all those things later on. Now let's create a Lambda function. So let's create a function. We'll start from the scratch. My hyphen API hyphen gateway. Any name you can put it over here. So I'll be using the runtime as Python 3.9. Permissions no need. You can see by default change default execution role. It will create a new role with the basic Lambda permission in order to execute this Lambda function. So we need not to go into detail. If you already have some predefined roles, we can use those existing roles. And these are much more advanced things. So at the point with this time, we will not discuss these things. We just create a Lambda function. Okay. So this is our code. You can see Lambda function. We can test. Okay. So you can see the result over here. Hello from Lambda. Now I will just save this one. Oh, okay. So I'm not going to click deploy. Let me write it over here. V1. Okay. Then I'll click save. Then I will deploy the changes. Now this changes has been deployed. Now if I go to the versioning over here, so I will publish a new version. You can, if you want to define some name v1, v2 if you want. So let's say this is the most stable one. That is, so latest will be corresponding to the current and changes in the latest version that we are having. So accordingly, you can, if you want to define, you can define it over here, or you can just skip this one if you want. It's optional. So you can publish over here. So you can just go back to the versioning over here. So you can see that's the version number 1. Now, similarly, I will go back to my code. I will make some changes. Let's say I'm making v2. Then I will save this one. And then I will deploy the changes. Now, again, I will go to the version. And I will just publish a new version. Let it be published. So now we have you can check the code over here. That is for the second one. You can see it is v2. Okay, now let's go back to my function. Now we have two versions. The first version that is pointing towards v1. So you can check the code over here. Okay, now we will go back to our Lambda function. Now we will create the aliases for this. Alias or aliases, whatever. So alias over here. So let's say we'll create alias over here. So let's say I'm putting over here. So let's say if I'm putting dev. So dev by default should be to the latest one and save it. And I'll go back. So for demo purpose, you can just have just one or two, but it's fine. We can have it more. So our test will be on version 2. And we will be having production, that is the running one, current one, the stable one. We will put it to the version 1. The prod will be on the version 1. Okay, so I have created the aliases over here. So you can check over here. So it is prod is version 1 and the latest dev is also the version that is latest. So if you check it over here, uh, if you click on the test, if you test this Lambda function, so you can just click test. So what is returning over here? The latest one, that is v2. Okay, that is in the dev. Now if you go to the, let's say if you go to the prod over here, and if you go to the test, so you should get v1. So let's check over here. So you can see we are getting v1. So this is how we can define different aliases for this. Then we can go to our API gateway. Now here I will just create one method, a get method over here. Let's say this one and click OK. Now what's our Lambda function? My API gateway. So make sure you check this option, proxy integration. So you can see it is coming over here. Then we have to put colon, then we have to put a dollar, then we have to use over here stage. So I'll just copy paste from here, so it's without making any mistakes. So we should have this one. So you can define any variables, but make it sure whatever you define, you need to pass the value for this stage variables and save it. So once you save it, it will give you a pop-up. Now we need to add these permissions. Now these permissions, let me show you once. If I go to my API gateway, for each, not in this, for each Lambda function, if you let me go to the, okay, let me go to the aliases. Then if I go to the prod, so if you see over here, a permission. So currently there is resource-based policy statement. There is no policy is being defined. There is no permissions is being defined. So we need to add the permission such that from the API gateway we can access this function. So for that, so that's why when I added over here, it's popping me up like AWS add Lambda add permission, your function name, that is my function name, and the stage variables that we have. Okay, so for this you need AWS console to be added. Through the console you can add, but if you're expert in policy making, you can add the policies yourself. But I have used this AWS configure like this. You can check it up there. Okay, you can write it down yourself, that AWS configure. So I've already done. So I'll be just executing this command. I'll just copy paste. So if you have any doubts in doing that AWS configure, you can utilize that my one of my videos in which I have shown you how to utilize this console AWS CLI, how to use it. So here I need to change a little bit the function name. So I need to provide all the aliases that I have created over here. So let's say first one was dev, and press enter. So it will give you the permission. Okay, no error. Then again, second time. Now this time I have to run it for the test. Then again, one more time for the prod. Okay, now for all the three stage variables I have created this one. Now let's check. So we will go to our method over here. We'll click on the test. Now if you see over here, this headers and stage variables, we are passing this one. So if I write it over here, dev, and if I test it down over here, so you can see Lambda v2 should come. Okay, here it is, response body. Now if I put it over here, prod, it should come hello from Lambda v1. So let's check over here. Okay, so details about this logs and all, you can check my previous video. I've discussed a little bit basics about it. So you can have a little look around it. What are the things and how does it works? So after creating this, we need to make it show now about the deployment. Now if I go to the deploy, so I can choose over here, just a second. I'll just make it as dev, test it again. So we can just go to the deploy. Even though if it is not coming, you can just write it over here, stage name dev, and click on the deploy. And you can just go to this one and you can define the stage variables. Here you can add the stage variables. Function, it is dev, and save it. So similarly, you can create other stages. So I'm just creating a prod one. I'm not creating a test one. So you can utilize this, create, okay. Again, stage variables, add, prod, function. That is the variable that we have defined. And here it should be prod. Okay, now let's test over here. Get. So let's open the link. So you can see hello for Lambda 2. Now similarly, if I check the prod one, I'll be getting over here hello from Lambda v1. Oops, validation error. Something went wrong. Okay, we can just change it over here. Prod. Something went wrong with my function name. I think I didn't put the permission properly or something is wrong. So we have given prod, we have given test. Okay, let me do one thing. We can click on this tab over here. We can delete this and we can delete the prod also if you want. And we can go back to our APIs over here. So let me check over here what's the issue over here. Let's click on test. So it should automatically get over here that deployment test. Okay. So we are getting V2. This means everything is fine. So we can click on this deploy API. Now still we are not getting over here. Here it should come with dev over here basically. Let's click on this. Okay, everything looks fine over here. Anyhow, if it is not coming, no worries. Just we can define it over here. Dev description, if you want, you can define. So basically, I just wanted to show you how this different stage variables work. So you can see over here, we are getting from, oops, forbidden. It will be okay after some time if we just refresh this one. Let me go back. Okay. The problem is that we didn't define the stage variables that we need to define it over here in the dev stage variables. So add function and dev. Now you can check the URL. So still we are getting that. I think something went wrong with my, let me check. Yeah, it's fine now. You can see it takes some time to policies to be implemented, the permissions and all. So Don't worry about that. Maybe in our previous one also, we were getting like the same message. So we need to keep it refresh that particular message. So prod I'm going to implement. Again, before doing something, we need to define the stage variables over here, function and the value prod. So you can just go here, just you can refresh or just wait for the permissions to be, you know, reach to that particular Lambda. So forbidden oh, authentication token. We can just refresh this one a little bit. Even we can just change the little bit over here. Just if we put the prod, we should get, it's coming as a forbidden. It should not come. Something is happening. Yes, you can see over here. Now we are getting from V1. So now this production is pointing towards our this particular Lambda function that the V1 see, and the other one that is the dev that is pointing towards the V2 Lambda. So this is how we can define different stage variables and how we can set up different environment stages, basically stage environments like dev, production, and test, and we can have a clear like idea between all those things. So I hope many of you might be seeing different videos in which different interfaces are there. Little bit changes AWS is making. So this is the latest video. You can just follow this video, and you can see in the previous interface there was you can see the aliases and the different versions and all in one screen, but now it is in different screens. You need to go back to and fro in order to get all the options shown there. And especially for this one, you can just if you have the AWS CLI version 2 installed, you can just watch my video on which I have just given how to utilize this and how to run the basic CLI commands. So I'll just show you AWS configure, but you need to generate the keys for this, and you can see my access ID is already shown over here and the secret and the region. So this is how we can communicate. So you need to get a little bit hands-on with the CLI and a little bit with the Lambda as well as with the gateway. I hope you understood all the concepts related to the stages and deployments. Please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.